like, having a child is not a direct byproduct of sex. It has to be, like, a willing participation of both parties. So you can't just, like, fuck around, get pregnant, and be like, fuck my life. Like, that's not how the species work. It's kind of how the beastmen work, because they're not inside of the tree or anything like that. So there is a social class as well as a like capability class. Should be like intelligence level. Capability class. And that's like what do you call it? What the general population thinks of an individual person. This is kind of like the merit system in a way. Where the more you do for people, the more people recognize you. And that has its own, like, set of class based upon who you know. So it's kind of like a networking kind of idea. And then you can move up from there. But, anyways. Let's see how we hold up.
That I said, next video, as dictated by the Red Book, there will be a Marxist revolution! Yes! I would like to apologize for these comments, sincerely, because the revolution is postponed due to Trotskyist Leninist infighting. It is not this day. This day, we do more world-building theory. Class or caste systems are a massive part of the way society works and changes. It decides who gets to eat cheap fast food and who of you gets to lose their head in the coming revolution. Last video, we looked at how they work and the complex relationship between status, wealth, and power in detail. That video is linked up in the corner now. But today, we're going to be looking at where class systems come from.
So, we got origins of class. One of the big things for this is species. Common mistake? I'm not quite sure what that is referring to. Put a question mark there. Maintaining class structure. And this is kind of where, like, fall of the classes, kind of at that point where it's like the class structures are going to be emphasized in the fact of the people that are trying to change them, such as the Viceroy and his concubine trying to bring Beastmoon into the fold of the tree. I think that the things are fine is probably, yeah, you're sitting there while everything else is on fire. People are like, don't worry about it, you know, and that's kind of how Husai is in some of the adventurers. They're just like, don't worry about the retards in the tree, we don't have to deal with them. Yeah, you don't have to deal with them anymore, because you ain't fucking going back, bro. And as soon as you can't go back, you know, you're fucked. 10 common strategies. This is a good one. Magic, technology, and class. What do we call this? Like the original dome-dwelling octopi versus the true-born tree. Those true born in the tree. Okay. Let's see.
And how and who maintains these class systems. Topics are timestamped on the screen now. Cheers to the writing and world-building company Campfire for sponsoring this world-building video.
Yep.
We will be reviewing Campfire later on in the video at this point, so if you like magic systems or conlangs or just world-building in general, then do make sure to watch it. Head to this link down in the description to get it for 10 days totally free to try for yourself. Now, like all good stories, unlike the new Artemis Fowl film, we'll start at the beginning. Part 1. The Origins of Class. As historians and anthropologists Professor Melvin Kranzberg and Michael T. Hannon write, communal activity to organize and harvest food and material in larger groups had important social implications. Food had to be equally distributed, and a leader was needed to organize and direct the group, creating a managerial hierarchy. By the time written history began, distinct economic and social classes were in existence, with members of each class occupying a certain place in the organization of work. At the apex of the social pyramid stood the ruler, who was often worshipped, and the nobles, often grown out of a warrior class. Closely aligned with them were the priests, possessing knowledge of writing and mathematics, organizing and directing the economy. These are very broad guidelines, but 3 crucial questions for your world building in terms of where all of this came from are A, what originally caused people...
What originally caused people to live in larger groups? Now the question is this even relevant? But I mean, for history purposes, could be scarcity at the bottom of the ocean with the octopi. Because this is going to have rippling effects, right? So if we have to start at the base of the foundation in order to build something that really stands on its own. So... say more hands, less work. And like a subset of this would be like basic division of labor stuff. Yeah, because they're like super intelligent, right? Even from the very beginning without technology. Like, they basically, like, the idea is they overcame the one thing that was like holding their species back. And the one thing that was holding their species back was the way that they mated. If they're smart, they'll figure it out pretty quickly, right? And it's like, because the octopi are originally based off of the idea if the octopus species in real life didn't function the way that it does, it would be the most intelligent species on the planet. But it's basically like there's no maternal structure for the species because parents mate, dad fucks off, mother raises eggs, and then dies when the eggs are born. So they don't have any passage of knowledge. The only knowledge they have is learned from birth with no help from the outside. And that's the reason why among 10,000, only 10 octopus will actually survive. And that's the reason why their species is so good at learning. Because they literally had to learn everything or they would die. And that causes a very specific effect where only the most intelligent pass on their genes. Because they're the ones that were able to survive long enough in order to mate. So, like, let's actually just go even more, and let's just say, like, a strong Familial bond. Oh, one of the main fundamental one is the discovery of the crevice. A part of the ocean that exposes Gaia's shell directly. From this grows the crystal coral. It's basically like the ultimate food source for like anything. Anything can eat it, and it just allows that source to live and infuses it with consciousness. So the discovery of this crevice and the specific octopi that lived in that place, because of the basically infinite food source that they had, it allowed them to congregate in one place, giving them an advantage over the rest of the octopi. And then from there, it was like, you know, figuring out how to manipulate, because once they figured out how to manipulate the coral itself, then they started to figure out, oh, well, there's like minerals mixed in with the layers of dirt inside of the crevice. So then they get into like mining, and then they find about ores, and then it's like, well, how do you work ore underwater? Well, hydrothermal vents in an area that's exposed like this. So it's like all of these things come together. Hydrothermal vents for the production of a industrial civilization. And then from that point, it was like just collective goals, right? Everyone's survival because necessity had been met. So how do we ripple that down the line to like where we are now? I don't know, we'll have to think about that.
People to live in larger groups, and fantasy and sci-fi can have less grounded reasons for this. In Tolkien's Middle-earth, how human society originally formed was impacted by the theology and how they interacted with the kind of dark lord figure, a god-like being Morgoth. He tempted them, and some men resisted, but some men didn't, leading to multiple groups drawing together in conflict with one another. There was that need to survive that came from interacting with godlike forces. Secondly, what resources was your society trying to gather more?
What resources were they trying to gather more efficiently? Ore? Like rock, gems, coral, which is like building material. Yeah, I think that's a good start.
More efficiently. Probably food or water, but it could be something else that life really relies on.
I'd suggest replacing the concept of resources with goods, since resources materials typically loaded. I mean, I guess so, but I don't think of it that way. I think of resources as like necessities. What are the necessities that they need? Like security is a good, but it's not a resource. Hmm. I'm not sure. Let's put resources / goods. But it's mainly like, what are the building blocks of this type of civilization? The distinction is subtle because nobody collects resources that aren't goods. I guess so. But it's also how people think about things, right? Like, people think, like, I think resources are, like, your base material, and your goods are the product that comes from that material, right? So, like, the resources of security is people, but the security itself is the good. Does that make sense? Because that's how I think about it. But I like getting other people's perspective, because again, I'm not the only fucking person in the world, and my perspective isn't the only perspective. So we're only writing in one perspective is a good way to alienate an audience, right? But would you consider, like, in the factor of security, that the resource for the security is whatever, like, in this case, like, people, or, like, a weapon, or, like, a robot. But it would be whatever facilitates the enablement of that good. Because without the resource, you wouldn't have the good, right? So you can't have security if you don't have someone in a position to do security. And like, I think of security, goods are the things that you want. Resources, the material, goods, valued for their use value. Goods are things that you want. Resources are material goods. So one would be material goods and one would be like ideological goods. Like, an ideological good would be security. Because it in of itself is not a physical manifestation. It is an idea that is manifested physically through an act. I.e., like, protecting someone's property in the case of, like, trading and making sure that the trading is like non-coercive and non-invasive, you know, like non-threatening in a way, where it's like, you know, this person knows that you need this to survive, so they hike up the price in order to make it so you barely can afford it, so you can barely survive, and basically taking advantage of you, right? But in that case, like, what kind of goods would they want in this type of society? Because one of the hardest things I struggle with is, where does crime come from? What are incentives for and against the rules and laws? And, like, what is the current public opinion on the current law system, and how long has that law system been in place? What changes have been made since then, and are any of those laws now invalid in some way? So I think that requires a little bit more thinking on that.
In your world, like the spice which gives power.
Because you don't need water because you're inside of water, so that's one resource completely taken care of and basically taken out of the equation. Second is food source, which is completely taken out of the equation because you have that from like the area that these specific octopi are in. And then you have like a social incentive, which is like the more people you know and the more people that are together. This brings in land can be a good. Yeah. The fact that like where they live is this super special spot because it exposes Gaia's shell, and that crystal and coral that grows out of it is basically the ultimate life-giving source. So that they basically live in a paradise. But then it's like, are there other predators there because this is such a good place, right? Are there like sharks and like dolphins and like other things? So let's say like one of the main reasons for them also coming together is predators. And we could design some sort of idea for predators and have those later on be like the shark and like the Sahagin and the what's the other race? They're frogs. That doesn't make... Yes, it made just the Sahagin because they're sharks. Oh, the dolphin people. That was the other one. Dolphins. I don't know if dolphins eat octopi, but dolphins are fucking assholes, so I wouldn't doubt it. So the resource that they're biting in this area, right, to access to this location and security from outside forces. The guy will probably circle around talking about intangible goods anyways. Yeah, and this all leads up to like what are those things in the society, who gets to use those things and structure them, right? Like the idea that like you need both miners and scientists in order to have a industrial revolution, right? So you need to have like one of everything. Just because some people think, oh, this job is better than that job, you wouldn't have one without the other, or the other without the one. So knowing the correlation between them is extremely important for like setting up what kind of society you want, right? Knowledge is another intangible good. Yeah. So it's like the most intelligent octopi are the ones that are like running the technology and the innovation side, which would be like the monarch and the viceroy, especially after they come back from the submarine. Because they're like, basically the idea is they're like 150 years more advanced than us, right? But they have certain limitations to their technology because of it's underground, or it's underwater, right? So like, they don't have like the normal type of propulsion engine we would expect, right? I gotta head off from my stream now, fella. Yeah, no worries, Levi. Sounds good, bro. Enjoy the stream, good sir. Thank you for the insight. It is always appreciated.
Was in Herbert's Dune, or Sakuradite, a healing explosive superconductor mineral in Code Geass. And finally,
Code
what
Geass.
religious or philosophical beliefs Spreet
Alright. Third. What religious or philosophical belief spread far enough to influence class structures? Okay, this one I think can be more relative to the timeline. But let's start at the beginning and say scientific inquiry through manifested through imagination, i.e. Greek gods / Roman gods. Like, gods created out of the created basically for explanations for everyday things. Why does the sun rise? Why does the sun set? Why do the stars move? Why does the moon have different phases? Like, those are the kinds of basic things that they're going to start on a like mythological level in a scientific inquiry state, right? But they can't see the sun, so the sun is like an X, so it's not like that. So it's like, what kinds of things like change their view of the world, which is pretty static if we think about it, right? The water temperature doesn't change, so there's no weather, right? Like, what would underwater weather be like? That probably requires some research, so this isn't even something we could really answer. What are the like main functionalities that a philosophy would facilitate for living life? Would be obviously good and bad in the good and bad in a predator-prey scenario. So, like, the predators are bad and the prey is good because you're the prey. I guess there's the... What is the ground? Like, how do I word this? It's like, what is the ground if there is if water's everywhere? It's like, oh, what's the contrast? What is the contrast of water and land? How do these two interface and this is a really weird one. I don't know, I guess it would say, what is land, what is water? In the context of a being that could be at a depth of either never seeing solid surface in its life, or never have the idea of a or always having land and never considering flight. Swimming? Question mark? I don't know. Gamble all. Damn, Sean. Alright, here we go. Fuck! Well, there go that. Alright, here we go. You can't do both, Sean. Well, it looks like I'm gonna win by default. Hell yeah, let's do this. Son of a bitch, that was a Twitch glitch. You better hit join again, good sir. Because I don't know if you're in the raffle or not. Hopefully you are now. 15 seconds, guys. Come on. Everyone join up. Natural effects. Yeah! Okay, let's do it. Fuck! Fucking bullshit. It's rigged. Guys, it's fucking rigged. It's obviously rigged. Yeah, no, it's definitely rigged. Sean rigged the system, guys. I don't know how he did it, but he rigged it. He rigged it against me, of all things. Natural effects such as birth, death, injury, spirituality, through self-experience. Trying to explain the unfairness of life with God's good and bad. I think that's a very good, like, basis for, like, what the philosophy of the original Octopi was. It knows I want to lose, so I must win. It knows you want to win, so you must lose. It's so true, Sean. It's so true. Is there anything else? Punishment for ill behavior. Like karma for bad deeds or something. Something like that. I think that's interesting. I mean, you keep doing it, Sean, and you're gonna have the billion for the fucking doxing stream.
Far enough to influence class structures, maybe in a world that's hit by...
See, we're just thinking about, like, from a base level, not necessarily, like, spread. Right?
massive tsunamis once every decade, those who are incredibly good swimmers are revered and raised to an upper class. Caste systems evolved along similar guidelines to these, but they tend to put a special emphasis on that third element. See, caste systems are usually accompanied by a strong belief about how the world and people should be organized.
Yeah.
You there, anime weeb! Your taste in weird and inhuman gasps makes you the highest caste.
True.
The Hindu Rig Veda, forgive my pronunciation, divides society into 4 groups, morally destined for their position. Magic will also...
Morality. Morality is very important. Distinct set laws based on treat others like you want to be treated. So I would have to hit other people so that they know that I want to be hit. I mean, fair enough.
Significantly affects how your classes form by changing who is powerful,
there is no
how
magic
resources
yet,
are organized
so...
and collected, what status means. The Farfaluk feudalistic system in Herbert's Dune series evolved to accommodate a group called the Bene Gesserit, a sect of magically powerful females. The upper classes,
they're not magically powerful, they're just genetically enhanced. And they have, like, genetic memory, and the ability to fully manipulate their body in any way possible.
Great houses are a little bit more gender balanced because they seek to use them as wives and consultants as they compete.
And the Bene Gesserit is kind of the idea of what I based, like, the concubine class of the political structure in the tree. is like this single individual class that can only be appointed to this position. Only members of that specific group. Female octopi. And they are the breeders. So they want a good stock and, like, family and... A kangaroo, man! What am I? A fucking elven. So, I'm a basic-ass bitch.
With one another economically and politically. This is also why the Emperor almost always has a Bene Gesserit wife. Class systems necessarily have to accommodate powerful groups, either by oppressing, controlling, or letting them lead. But an important factor is that class systems seem to be often connected to historic conflicts between groups. Different ethnic groups,
okay, this is
tribal
important.
groups, different professions, different religions. The Indian caste system can theoretically...
Because this will be like, you know, beastman, adventurer, tree dweller. Because we're just thinking on scales of the beginning. We're not thinking on how far it will go into the future. We're just thinking, like, start as the baseline foundation and work on the ripples as they spread out. And when I'm making the bigger decisions, check back and see, would that be a ripple effect of the original idea, right? Ooh, not quite good, but still not bad.
Divisions and conflicts between Vedic tribes. The arrival of the Indo-Iranians also contributed to the caste formation as it played a role in those tribal conflicts, and the Indo-Iranians brought with them a particular...
And same like the idea of like the insectoids and the avians. Like they were literally genetically engineered for this purpose of being, the insectoids being a frontline vanguard and the avians being like scouts and spies.
Principle of social ordering called Varna, which was based on the 4 hierarchical divisions of function in society. Skin color was an important indicator in determining an individual's caste. The winners of those Vedic tribal conflicts seemed to become part of the upper class over time. Here, we see that class divides were not just determined by the organization of labor and a philosophical belief, but by ethnic and religious conflicts, the winners and losers. Like the war between us and the weebs. Now, one kind of realism mistake that I see a lot of world builders make is that though they might show us how the class system originated, these norms never really change. I talked a little bit about this in my video on fictional histories. Imagine a 10,000-year-old conflict that defines everything in your world for all time.
Maybe we did.
Yeah, no. See, that just doesn't happen. There aren't single events that determine all of history, all of how society is structured.
I mean, a world-changing event such as, like, the dinosaurs being wiped out by an asteroid and, like, the arrival and, like, spreading of humans across the world and evolution of us into what we are now, probably wouldn't have been as easy were there, you know, predators, like extreme amounts of predators way beyond our capability, right? It's one thing dealing 100 men with one T-Rex. We got one T-Rex per person. You ain't getting nothing out of that, right? So one thing is, it's only 600 years since the fall of the moon. So that's like five generations, 6 generations, right? Because it's about every... Maybe it's actually 10 generations. Hold on. Well, if it's 10 and it's 600, that's 60. That's just the math. So it has to be 10. 10 generations is 600 years. But the highest end of that is like 4. So it's like 4 to 10 generations. Because the newest borns in this time would be the 10th generation, and the oldest ones alive would be the 4th generation. No, I think the math is just really wrong on that. I think I've been doing the math wrong the entire fucking time. Cause okay, let's do the math on this. Let's do 60. So like 1 is 60. 2 is 120. 3 is 180. 4 240. 5 300. So if you're having one kid every 60 years, and then every 60 years that kid is having one kid, yeah, that's 10 generations. So even within, like, what generation would have to survive or like still be alive, could still be alive? Those born in 420, nope, it would be 8. It would be the 8th generation. Those born in 480 have the potential to still be alive in the year 600. So maybe we're like year like 585, 575, where it's not exactly 600. So maybe 7th generation, 420 years, just because I like the number. That would be the oldest people. So it would be between the 7th and the 10th generation. So maybe that actually changes things significantly. It's 4 lifetimes, but that's 10 generations. 4 lifetimes is 10 generations. So you'd be like great-great-grandparents by the time you died. Maybe even great-great-great-grandparents. There's a lot to think about on this one, man. I just can't get... But still, 600 years is like not that much time on a grand scale of stagnant life, right? So it's probably important that everything that happened before the fall of the moon, as far as the tree goes, is separated. But then we have to go into the origin of the beastmen, right? And their stories, like, what were their stories before the octopi came? Like, what are their ancient, oldest philosophy and lore? That's something we'd have to look into.
And how the class system works. Those beliefs and conflicts may
finally, Sean, you weren't gonna win forever
originally, but it does not mean that it ever stayed divided along those exact lines, especially after thousands of years later. The fact is that even in traditional times, the caste system never existed as it theoretically was supposed to operate. My family belongs to the ancient Syrian Christian community in Kerala. The Syrian Christians were given a high status in the caste system, even though, strictly speaking, the caste system applies only to Hindus. The Indian caste system was also radically changed by the British colonization in 1881 as they reorganized society, even making it firmer in many ways for colonial purposes. They wanted to create a census of sorts and fully catalogue everyone, and this was a way that they did that. Just as class systems shape society, they too are shaped by that same social environment. Unless your caste system has only recently started, consider how the economic, social, religious, and political realities of the class or caste system have evolved since the start to accommodate sociological and demographic change. Keeping your class system the same after so long makes your society feel stagnant. Necessarily, how the
It
classes
is
are structured
stagnant,
will
though.
be impacted by the type of government
Which is the
that you
contrast
want.
to the Adventurers
A plutocracy
Guild.
would put the wealthy at the top, like in Jenna Government by Max Berry, and a caste system is more likely to have a theocracy because of that philosophical backing, or at least a strong priest-like class.
Rick Cool Rock second, Night
Cool
Sir.
Rocks 2ND is now following.
Thank you for
following
the
Rick Cool
follow,
Rocks
good
2ND.
sir.
I hope you are enjoying the stream less than
How's
4
it
left.
going? Welcome, welcome. We'll take a toke to that.
He used to Arch Commander Consummate and thinks he'd be a perfect match for us.
I'm not that interested. Are you smoking?
Who?
You.
Why?
What? Why are you smoking?
Maybe.
What? When did
Oh,
you
you're a
start
can
smoking?
you transformed from a kangaroo man into a kangaroo
So you
man.
have been lying. It all makes sense. The filled ashtrays, the burning pine-scented hairspray.
Yes, I'll say it. Her 3-pack-a-day voice.
Okay. So yeah, like the first people that would have become adventurers most likely would have been people that were like guards and like part of like a military / police force inside of the tree, and there's just not enough crime inside of the tree to facilitate like you're a story writer. Yes, I am, Rick Cool Rock second. We are discussing how my class systems and caste systems hold up to the greats and how layered it is and where, you know, we're coming from. We're kind of putting everything into a perspective, because my biggest problem with the stuff in my mind is I don't necessarily have a category or for certain things. So, cool. Same goes with me. Hell yeah, bud. What kind of stuff do you write? And if you want, you can join the Discord. If you want me to read any of your writing. Complex? Ooh, I like that. Alright, alright. Mainly working on an isekai anime. Ooh, that's kind of like Cat version. Sean's story that we'll be reading. Originally, it was going to have 14 seasons. Isekai is our jam. So cool. Like, that's another reason why I want to start doing art, but I narrowed it down to 5. Nice. I want to start doing art, because then I could do, like manga panels and shit like that. That would be so fucking dope. 8, I mean. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, I turned mine from like 50 chapters into... God damn it, where's this thing? Oh, my life. I forgot. Why does no one tell me these things? I forgot to plug in the lava lamp, because I'm retarded. But yeah, that sounds really, really cool, dude. We love that kind of stuff. So, welcome to the team. But yeah, how do our ideas hold up? Right now, I believe only like a few scripts have been made. Mostly beta scripts. Oh, that's all good. That's what it starts out as, right? And then you slowly work your way up from there.
And while all of this may have been how class systems originated, it's important to remember that they're also often invented more artificially, like the Neo-Confucianist systems.
Yeah, and it's like the separation between the avians and the insectoids is a completely fabricated and propagandized topic, because it's like everyone's IQ base is like 70. So anyone can have an IQ of 70. You can have an octopi, an avian, or an insectoid have an IQ of 70. So that kind of evens the playing field for everyone. Would you like a log line or a synopsis of the like summary of my anime? Different smarts. But the avians cap at 110 IQ, whereas the insectoids at 110, avians at 130, and octopi at 150. So the highest, most intelligent people in society show the difference in the intelligence of the other species, but the lower level intelligence show the equalization across the board. So it has to be this contrast between the higher ups propagandizing, like, the fact that they're a public figure, so people look at them more, right? So it's like the idea of there's the silent majority and the loud minority. They would be the loud minority, causing people to think that they are the majority because they are the ones that speak out the most. The isekai genre is a lot of cliche fan service stuff out there, but it has the best potential for a great story. No demon lord, no slave harem. Don't make the main character too OP unless there's an emotional struggle to make the journey difficult. So various species have different smarts. Slave harem. Obviously there's going to be a slave harem of beastmen. Everyone's going to want to get their hands on that, Actually, I don't even know. Like, which species would be, like, the sexiest, like, species among the beastmen? We got, like, the kangaroos, we got the sharks, we got the dolphins, we got the frogs, we got, goats, we got, also, mine is going to be well different, but have a bit of cliches. Cliches aren't bad to have. They're there for a reason. The problem is relying on them and maintaining them. Usually use a cliche as a hook, and then eventually change that. Like the super ridiculously overpowered character that, you know, at the end of the first season loses all of his powers, and then the next season is him, like, rising up. And the hook is everyone's like, yeah, he's fucking OP as shit. And then it's like, oh my god, he lost everything. Now he's like a normal person, and he has to rise to the occasion. Anyways, here's a log line of it if you would like. Yeah, sure, sounds good. Make sure you do TTS beforehand so she speaks.
Speak to me.
That'll just really emphasize the moment. I think it'll be great. But yeah, each species has a cap on intelligence, essentially, because the avians and the insectoids were made for a specific purpose. So, like, their cranial capacity, for instance, is not as grand as the octopi. And that's very stressed in the main character because he's human, and his, like, brain cavity, essentially, is larger than all of theirs, and his intelligence potential is higher, even though his IQ actually isn't higher, but it's the ability for his brain to comprehend and understand the influence of Gaia, the celestial being of the planet, in order to facilitate his push to the narrative. Because he's supposed to question the things that Gaia has placed mental block on other characters for, or other, like, everyone, essentially, because if she puts too much emphasis on pressing her consciousness into your mind, she will destroy your mind. I was thinking about this, like, last night when we were talking about, like, the X-Men and shit like that, and, like, being Professor X, and I'm like, it's like Xavier when he puts on Cerebro. If he concentrates too hard, he could kill everyone on the planet. And that's kind of like Gaia, where she can't concentrate too hard on a single target, or she would obliterate their existence. So she can, their consciousness. So she could only press things on an instinctual level. That's kind of like the idea of Inception. If the creature believes that it is the source of its ideas, it will accept those ideas. But if those ideas are felt from a third party, they will reject them as if, like, fighting off a virus.
The government kind of just came up with a way that society should be organized. During British colonization of India, which I mentioned before, they drastically changed and hardened the Indian caste system for colonial reasons. They wanted to organize society. Oppressive governments will sometimes create a class system that...
And it's kind of like with the monarch, with the idea of creating the Adventurers Guild, where it's like, well, we can have this outside piece where we don't have to have any oversight. We allow them to do the job of dealing with the Beastmen. This is the title of my anime. A New World filled with medieval knights, snow, magic, and monsters. Hell yeah. And the fact that, like, the monarchy is supposed to feel oppressive in its own way, but that's oppressive, like, on the side of the majority of the people. So it's like the idea of, like, the people that lose kind of get fucked over. And it's like, that's one of the downsides of, like, the monarchy. And that's one of the reasons why slowly over time they introduced the political system and the governmental system that allowed them in order to... I'm just going to copy and paste this and TTS it, because I think it's going to be way more badass if I do that. So just type it all out, and then I'm going to re-TTS it, and we're going to have us a badass TTS story time. And despite what we were talking about earlier with, like, auto-reading and stuff like that, if the one reason for it is to create spectacle, that is probably one of the main reasons that I like TTS in general, is it creates a spectacle. And as a streamer, spectacle is literally what we live off of. So being able to facilitate, like for instance, like, you know how people follow trends, right? Anyone can follow a trend, right? But it takes a true genius to create a trend. And I'm not tooting my own horn here, because I'm not saying this is a reality. This is my goal. My goal is to be a person who creates trends, not a person who follows trends. Whether I'm successful or not is a completely different story, but that is the goal.
A high schooler and his friends are making their way down the sidewalk. As they walk down, they turn the corner and pass an alleyway. All of them pass the alleyway except one. He then calls out to the rest of his friends to investigate the mysterious bag-like item that is buried under construction materials, and so they remove the wooden beams and find a satchel buried under some rubble with a peculiar blue gemstone. A light sudden L engulfs them after two of them scuffle over the satchel, and they are sent to a cold and icy world of medieval magic. They must reunite with each other while traveling through the frigid world of Icrea, discovering its mysteries and monsters within this foreign land to stop the reign of the Bloodstone Kingdom and its history, to eventually find a way back home by any means necessary. Or maybe this is just the beginning.
Damn! Got me on that one. I'm in. Sold! It has to be high schoolers, because that's just, like, the base demographic of like, shonen. It's for young men. It's for young guys. First of all, this logline doesn't really go into the character that much, but the synopsis does. If you would like... Yeah, sure, post it up, Rick. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. We love ideas here. We love spreading ideas. And thinking about things. Critiquing things. Questioning things. But mostly imagining things. Like dragons. I'm trying to remember where I was. Intelligence. Governmental system. The reason why the system is set up the way it is because slowly over time pieces are added, subtracted, and moved inside of the governmental status. That's everything, Rick? That sounds like that's everything. Are we ready, guys?
In Realms of Icrea, 17-year-old Jake, a passionate history enthusiast, finds his adventurous spirit tested when he and his friends, Bob, Ribald, Donnie, Ella, Yuri, and Chris, are unexpectedly transported to the icy, magical realm of Icrea. Their journey begins when they uncover a mysterious satchel buried under rubble, triggering a portal that thrusts them into a world filled with medieval knights, formidable creatures, and chilling landscapes. As they navigate this perilous new environment, the group must learn to rely on one another's unique strengths to survive. Jake, stepping into the role of leader, utilizes his historical knowledge to make sense of their surroundings and strategize against the oppressive. Bloodstone Kingdom. Ribald, a grumpy super senior with a tough exterior, discovers the value of teamwork when he must work alongside his love interest, Bob, a curious polymath eager to explore the mysteries of Icrea. Donnie, the caring and sporty tomboy, becomes a pillar of strength for the group, while Ella, initially timid and apprehensive, learns to confront her fears and embrace her inner courage. Meanwhile, Yuri and Chris, both determined and adaptable, use their athletic skills to help the group face the many challenges that arise as they embark on their quest to uncover the truth behind the Bloodstone Kingdom's tyranny. The friends encounter ancient ruins, magical artifacts, and fierce battles that test their resolve. The stakes grow higher as they realize that not only must they find a way back home, but they must also confront the dark forces threatening the realm through trials of friendship and resilience. Realms of Icrea is a tale of unity, courage, and self-discovery, as this group of friends learns that their greatest strength lies in their ability to face the unknown together.
Damn! That's great. I love it. I'm sold. Where am I? Take my money! Take my money! Take my money! Take my money!
Aligns with.
Oh, also, when they get teleported to the other world called Icrea. The other world called Isria. They are all separated. Oh, it's pronounced Isria? Cool. Stupid fucking AI doesn't know how to pronounce shit. Ooh, let's go, Sean! Fuck! Correct pronunciation. Nice. Get in on your points while you can! Well, you know what we're doing. Oh, I don't have enough points.
Do not drink water. Do not leave your seat. Do not move your feet. Do not stretch. Do not go to the bathroom. Have another toke.
True. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? It's all about me. 'Cause I'm the streamer. Fuck! Absolutely rigged. I don't care what anyone says. Absolutely fucking rigged. Sean wins every time. See what I mean? See what I mean? It's not fair. It's not fair. Sean is a winner. Winner. chicken dinner.
with their ideology. Jack
True.
London's The Iron Heel demonstrates how a fascist government...
True friendship between henchmen. By the power of some mysterious world, Sean has been transformed. How do you get Kangaroo Man 3 times in a row, bro? What the fuck? Oh, I'm transformed back into a human. Woo! Woo! Woof. Don't have to be a Mithra forever, you know?
creates and enforces a class system based on race that did not arise organically in any way. So
yeah, there's no reason for the races to, like, think that this intellectuality is the reason for their separation. It is purely to keep the octopi as the ruling class, and that is directly because of the structure that the monarch and the viceroy hold over everyone else. Now then, listening to Jack London, whom is an author, I presume. Ooh, interesting.
Is truly organic. Nothing is truly arising as organically as I described at the start. Let's consider the most accurate representation of feudalism ever made. Age of Empires.
True!
I'm kidding, but in a sense, feudalism is about the organization of labor more efficiently. It's about people gathering together into larger groups for protection, and it's also got kind of a philosophical backing with things like the divine right of kings. So, in a sense, you could say this is organic, but at the same time, there were a lot of practices and rituals and beliefs that really only came into existence to justify the system as it worked,
yeah,
to help
exactly.
the nobles maintain power.
It's the entirety of the, like, the foundation of the system is built upon propaganda for people to believe that the system needs to exist. And for the monarch, he has it placed so people believe that he has the power to control the tree. Now, this is true in a way, but he uses technology that no one knows about because of backstory. But anyways, they think it's magic. They think he's the only one who can control it, and they think it's through a bloodline means. So that's why the royalty is so important. But it's all a facade structure for the monarch to be able to maintain control. And one of the concepts for ending the book is making everyone turn against the monarch, including the citizens in the tree, to the point that the monarch is literally on his own against the rest of the world. Which is like the whole Madara situation where it's like all of the ninja world versus Madara and they still can't fucking beat him. Which is, I mean, true, you're fighting a celestial being at the end of the day. Jack London wrote White Fang, which is a rather famous book and turned into a movie. Ah, interesting.
Power.
Movie of the same name called White Fang?
They weren't really organically developed. And it's your job as the world builder to figure out what the balance is. What is the organic with natural divisions in society in your class system, and what is official, more forced and manufactured by those in power on others. Part 2. Maintaining a class structure. Class systems are like any other sociological structure. They have to be maintained or
Wait, what? Hold on, wait, what? I missed something here. Wait. Okay, I'm confused. Let's go back to the intro. Where is it? There it is. A common mistake.
Now, one kind of realism mistake that I see...
Okay, he said realism mistake, and I was like, common mistake? Why is this here and I have no writing underneath it? the mix between an artificial society and an organic society. So the mistake is making things too static. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, let's move to the end of this then. Maintaining class structure.
A class structure.
We
Class
lost our
systems are
place.
like
It's
any
okay.
other
It
sociological
happens.
structure. They have to be maintained, or they change, or they fall apart.
Yeah.
We like to think of these systems as being about an oppressor class versus the oppressed, but that
It is kind of in this sense, but it's more of like an intellectual oppression. Where it's like, if you don't show these specific traits in intelligence, like, you're good at math, you're good at problem solving, you can think outside of the box. What's another one? Organization of labor. Well, in my world, or in this case, the Bloodstone Kingdom's outskirts, are run by the king, obviously, and they are friends with the Duriches, rich nobles who have control over 5 towns each, meaning the father, the mother, and the eldest son have control over 15 towns in total. Ah, nice. So they've got their own separate fiefdoms. So we'll say like the military class, for instance. So military class, which is royalty. Political class, which is female octopi. And these are the two classes that cannot change. These are static. In the fact of, if you're royalty, you will always be royalty, and the only way to be... And they, like, feed off of each other, because the only way to be royalty is to be a political octopi. And only a female octopi that's of non-royalty marries the viceroy or the monarch, and they become the mother of the new royalty. And that, there is no other way to do that. There's one way to be royal, and there's one way to be a politician. Everything else is based on, like, promoting that singular octopi to be in a position of power, and then adjusting the standards of government and, like, each legislative section and branch of the government to facilitate whatever new upcoming structure is foreseen. Because one of the biggest things with maintaining the class is understanding how it's going to evolve. If you know how it's going to evolve, you can manipulate it. And that's a very important thing. And that's all done through basically propaganda. And this is where I'm not sure how the connection between the royalty and the political structure and the fanaticism inside of the tree goes, because they extremely oppose each other on the side, for instance, how to deal with beastmen. So there could be a very high royal push of some kind to get people rallied and riled up and have a backing as to voicing their ideas and the reason why they would voice their ideas. Because one of the biggest problems is people have the idea, but they won't voice it out of fear of retribution or, like, being made fun of. So you will only voice your opinion if your opinion is the majority accepted opinion. Otherwise, you will lie about your opinion or you will not speak. And that is, like, a general function of society. Because no one wants to be alienated in their own, like, social group. Which is why I tell people whatever the fuck they want to hear about my politics when I actually give no fucks about politics, because I don't care whether the douchebag or the turd sandwich wins.
that's just not true. It's as if millions of Marxists suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. Not because powerful classes cannot be oppressive, but because the greatest reason that a class system persists, even if it's oppressive, is that either one, the majority of people believe in the way it works,
True.
or two, they don't see any issue.
That's the second one is the biggest one, because the monarch is technically oppressive, but it's in such a passive and lengthy way that it just goes like under the radar for most people, and it just feels like a natural, smooth moving of society. But this is because the monarch's been doing this for 10,000 years. He's a motherfucking master of it. And Anima, at the end of the day, has been doing this for much, much longer. But in this form, on this planet, for this time, this set of consciousness has been doing specifically this. So he's really, really fucking good at it. Is basically on autopilot at this point. And that's where things kind of start to fall apart, is where it starts to feel where it goes into autopilot and cogs start to change in their own way. Like the fanatics getting to the political class, and that political class getting to the viceroy, and the viceroy during his inauguration basically revealing his last 5 years of, like, we would call it treason to some people just straight up, like, lying, and other people, like, insignificant. But placed the value of the person who is the bridge between the Adventurers Guild and the tree, not on a governmental or bureaucratic level like the main character Husai is, but on a purely practical, like, adherable level for the normal people, for like a transitionary for like the people that are in the tree that want to become adventurers. And they love this guy. This guy's fucking awesome. So they voted him to like the high council of the fucking government. And then the viceroy's like, yeah, by the way, he's a beastman. And everyone's like, what? And freaks the fuck out. They might as well be at like a KKK meeting and pull his fucking hat off and be like, well, he's fucking black even though he's our leader. And they're all like, no! It's kind of like, there were origins with that in the idea of it. Like, that's how far the racism for the fanatics goes with beastmen. Is that they don't care if, like, they've trusted their entirety to this person. The second you reveal who they actually are, they take back absolutely everything they've said. Even though the whole point of it is trying to prove to them that it doesn't matter, because their ideas are the things that hold them to their view, right? And it's like, if this guy organically came up with these ideas and people like the ideas, and he's organically, like, despite being, like, artificially told he's an adventurer and he's an avian, he is technically organically woven in because he is the only beastman adventurer that they've, like, had. And it's because he worked as a, like, bag carrier for an adventurer for a bunch of time. I don't know the backstory of him or whatever, but it's going to be like something like that. So it's like he knows the intricate ways of the Adventurers Guild, and the fact that he is a what's called a high beastman, which is like there's like 10 or 20 in the world of each beastman that have, like, you know, they're the smartest and the highest intelligence, and they understand concepts far above the rest. It's like having the difference between an IQ of like 60 and an IQ of 90. And that's kind of the difference. And there's only like a very select few of these species per beastman. And this Lamia is one of them. And that's the reason why he is like, he can speak to the common folk essentially, because his highest, grandest ideas are like the most basic, understandable, universal concepts across like a static base class, which is the majority of people, which again is the silent majority, despite the silent or the loud minority trying to press that there's no issue with the oppression and people believe in the way that it works.
With the oppression.
I think we
Class
passed.
systems like Panem and the Hunger Games, with such an overwhelming social divide and purely based on fear, are, on average, a lot more fragile. Suzanne Collins even seemed to realize this, which is partly why Mockingjay was criticized for a lack of tension. The capital fell apart with very little real resistance. Societies like these, with such an overwhelming social divide and purely based on fear, can survive for a long time, such as the southern states of America or the slave empires like the Ottomans, but those typically have a large population who aren't slaves. Slaves were outnumbered 2 to 1 in the southern states. With this in mind, let's look at the legend of Korra. We can see the massive wealth, power, and status inequality in Ba Sing Se between the three rings. But some of the poorest have come to believe that the noble class like the Empress deserve the wealth, power, and status that they do not enjoy. There is a religious reverence to it, whether or not it's true, and that helps maintain it, because those...
And that's, again, one of the biggest things in the book is what people perceive versus what is reality. And it's always presented to you in a way of what people perceive, and then reality comes after that. And either reality lines up with what people perceive, or it does not. And when it does not, that's when you, as the reader, can say, oh, so this is something that people believe, but we've seen in an experiment in reality that this is not the way that the world works. The world works in a completely different way. Such as the idea that magic has always existed. Because magic didn't exist before the destruction of the moon and the fall of the moon, because the crystallized essence of the celestial being is what is the catalyst that allows magic to facilitate itself. Whereas in the old world, it was all done through technological means, which is why the monarch has an exceptional knowledge of extended, advanced technology that seems to normal people to be a type of magic that normal people seem to not be able to control. And that's why he has presented himself as, and the royalty, as having this, what's the word? Duty to the people of the tree, that they're the only ones that can control this power, so they have to make sure that the people are always protected. But their main thing is saying, what do the people want? And this is where, there's a bunch of, separation places for, different types of people in the class system, which is, the idea of, debauchery. For instance, the fact that procreation is not directly related to sex. You can have as much sex as you want without procreating, which causes there to be in a society where there are no conflicts, there's no strife, there's abundance of everything. And again, I just thought about this. You can't fatigue in the tree. So maybe on top of, using the sap as a drug, people get addicted to sex, too, because it's you don't ever have to stop. It's why would you ever stop? And this becomes, a huge problem for, the lower end of society. So maybe there is a stigma towards sex in, the higher ends of society to... as a propaganda measure to make sure that the royalty never sink into this debauchery, because then that opens up other avenues for one of the main reasons, 95% of the reason why someone procreates is because they're in love. So you just kind of fuck around with everyone until you find someone you love, and then you settle down with that person and have kids. That's kind of the basic premise of how, the familial system works. And with each species laying eggs in, a different form, where, the insectoids lay eggs that become larvae like flies, whereas the avians just lay eggs like birds, and the octopi lay eggs like fish, essentially. So there's a huge workaround for the genetic engineering that took place on the octopi to make sure that they don't spawn more than 5 eggs. And it's two eggs is 1 to 3 eggs is the average. Sometimes you'll get 5, but it's a lot of the time it's just 1. but that's a forced genetic engineering that you'll wonder about until you get to that point in the book, and it's like, okay, that makes sense why procreation is the way that it is. But there's like subsets of society for like drug addicts, sex addicts, all kinds of debauchery, like violence and stuff, because you can't, the only way to die in the tree is to have your head cut off. So like they've got like places that are like the Colosseum where you can like fight and stuff, and that's like the origins of the Adventurers Guild, where people are like fucking each other up so badly that they were like, hey, we need to figure out a way to like appease people's like fucking bloodlust and shit. And that's where people came up with the idea of leaving the tree and going on adventures. But no one had any idea that the tree was what was maintaining their like inability to have fatigue, their inability to know hunger, and their basically inability to die. So once they left the tree, it was like, oh shit. And basically all of them just fucking died.
With the power have every reason to encourage these beliefs with propaganda and rituals to reinforce this. Or maybe people wrongly believe that it works as a rigorous meritocracy. This is also why caste systems are usually so persistent. Caste systems bring with them a strong philosophical or moral belief about why people should be divided the way they are, in a way that normal class systems don't as much. Questioning the caste system becomes
Also, I should watch this video that you're watching. Yeah, it's the channel is Hello Future Me, and this is his on world building, and yeah, he has an entire series, or like he has on writing and on world building, and I think another series as well. And we're just going through these and picking out different things. We've watched like, let's go to my watch later. Like how many we've watched, like probably 30 of these. Like they're really, really good. We were watching other people, and then we were like, nah, we're just gonna stick with this one series because it's really, really fucking good. And all these videos are between like 4 and 6 years old as well. So like his stuff now, like you can buy his books that he took all of these, wrote them into books for like easy reference and stuff. I at some point in time may buy them, who knows, but for now this is more of a stream content thing, just for reacts and like categorization. Once I have everything categorized in my mind and I have like a basic understanding, because it's like I haven't gone to school in like 15 years, so it's like I'm basically the stream is basically me going to school, guys.
questioning society's morality around value and purity, even questioning God. If you can make an objective moral imperative for oppressing another group, it's much harder to question for both the oppressors and the oppressed. Secondly, perhaps a majority or a large group of people think that the way things work, well,
That's
it's
fine.
okay.
That's fine.
They're not the wealthiest or the most powerful or have the highest status, but things are fine. And those that do have all of them, well, they deserve it, right? Or those that don't, well, things all come right for them in time. So
I just gotta try harder. I just gotta believe in myself
a really
more.
nice quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that captures the sentiment really well. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that our great stumbling block in the stride towards freedom is not the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice. I think this is a pretty important question to ask when world building your class system. Does your society have a white moderate class who are largely apathetic? That quote is as relevant when you look at today's injustices.
Very much
that are
so.
contributors to
They don't give a
inequalities,
fuck
such as
about the
police
world.
murders, as it
They
was
just want to
then.
watch plays
That
and
house
have
over there is
fun and
burning.
fuck
Yeah, but
around.
my house isn't
Do
burning.
drugs and have sex.
I mean, it's still on fire. Shouldn't we, like, have a fire brigade or something? Have a fire brigade? Ha! That'd cost us all a lot of money. Yeah, but, like, that dude's house is on fire. I understand. Trust me, I hear you. But most people's houses aren't on fire. I don't think... I don't see a fire anyway. The task for you as a world builder is to figure out the combination here between people believe...
I am writing a book. It's a Final Fantasy based book. and we're just doing all the background world building and lore and structure and everything and putting everything into place and seeing where the holes are, how do my ideas hold up. But the entire idea of these reacts is the creative process. How does the creative process work, and what is the successful creative process that leads to a product that you can feel the passion in. I think that's like the main idea, is like, it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad as far as the writing goes, but it's like you can see the dedication, the passion. And for me, I'm a writer about ideas. I don't read for the writing itself and the structure. I read for the ideas and the lasting of, once I'm done reading this book, what will make me think back on this book? And what will this book make me perceive differently in reality, and use examples and contrasts to this book and this story and how these conflicts are, in order to create a system for myself to evaluate how people believe about things, right? Because I'm a very, very much, I don't care, like, what you say. I want to know what you think. I don't care, I only care about, like, what you do, your actions themselves. I don't care what you say. Anyone can say anything. It's what do you do? And what does that show in many ways, right? So having the depth, the understanding, the structure, and the ability to portray an idea to someone has nothing to do with how fancy your writing is, how well structured your sentences are, right? So it's like, some people absolutely love the writing itself, but I'm more about the idea. So to me, I don't care if I'm ever successful or published or whatever. It's, I want to read the book, see my idea in its fruition, and then come back to it and say, how did this affect me? Could this affect other people? Because the way that I got into writing was when I was in high school. I was grade 8 humanities class, and we were reading short stories. And the short story, I don't know what it is, but it was basically the idea of, oh, this alien race came out of nowhere. They started, attacking our planet and destroying our civilization. We've been fighting them for thousands of years. There's no end to the conflict, all this stuff. And then at the end, it looks down at the enemy and it describes a human. And just that reveal, that feeling I got from that reveal of being like, oh, fuck, we're the bad guys, is something I've always wanted to reproduce in other people, and have other people have that feeling, because I know how powerful that feeling is when you see something and you're like, you know what you're seeing, and then someone tells you what you're actually seeing, and you go, wait, what? And then you can see it morph in front of your eyes and literally change form until you're like, oh, how did I not see it? And that's like, one thing I was gonna say on this is like if you look at my name, there are so many different parts to my name, and so many people call me different names, but you know what part I like the most about my name?
Cat.
It's the literary version of computer art. True, Sean. True.
Everything in your system, and people not caring about its problems, for you to find out how your system is maintained. But, no. Let's not let the rich and powerful off too light.
Same with me, kind of. Well, it started in my creative writing class. It was a screenplay assignment to make a pilot episode screenplay, and we watched Avatar: The Last Airbender pilot for info and such, to have a visualization and structure of pilot episodes. Well, if you like Airbender, that's this guy's favorite show, so he is always talking about Airbender, because Avatar is fucking amazing. It is such a good story. It's just static. No, dude, cross your eyes. You know one of the best ones? I wonder if I can find it. How do I say this? Squint your eyes at this picture to see Asmongold. He's had so many of these. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Images. Maybe I can find one. No. But there are these images, and he showed them on his stream on his Reddit. And it's like you squint, right? It's like, let's say it's two chicks with ice cream cones standing in front of a cart with like cars in the background, and you squint your eyes, and it's a fucking picture of Asmund. It's like, oh my fucking god. Or like, you know, the things on the back of the cereal boxes where it's like cross your eyes, and it's like the 3D printouts, if you're old enough to remember those. And in doing so, I made a big ol' isekai anime and a ton of backstory for my main characters. Mainly Jake, though. Yeah, Rick, I have like 18 years worth of lore in my head. So that's kind of why it's like so large to structure. Because I literally have everything in my head. Basically, nothing is written on paper. My English teacher had a rule. You must skip every other line on the page for grading purposes. If you didn't skip lines, he'd grade every other line and your score would be crap. I mean, it makes sense because everything kind of blurs together, right? So it's like this is a perspective thing that I now, as a 33-year-old, go, oh, I would have never thought about this as a kid. But the idea that you don't have perfect eyesight. Like, your teacher probably doesn't have fucking perfect eyesight, even with glasses on. Especially if maybe they're an older, like, 50-plus teacher, right? And usually those are the best teachers because they've been teaching the longest, right? Both the current story and the past story follows Jake Takahashi. Nice. Well, I'm excited to look forward to it. I was in film in school. I actually have an award that says sex on it because we did a music video for the BC Student Film Festival in like 2007, and we won first place for Faber Drive's song Sex and Love. So I have a trophy that says first place and has sex on it. Fucking best high school moment ever. But yeah, and the best thing is there wasn't a second place and there wasn't a third place. You only get ranked and chosen if you fit the category. There are categories that never, like, that won't have any winners because none of the films set in those categories meet any of the things. So it's not like you just get first place because you were the only one that applied, right? So we got first place. There wasn't even a second or a third. That's how amazing our music video was. It was great. And if you want, like, an example, because I fucking love this. So I'll show you an example. Since you're new here, Rick. One student would sit and think until he had his story fully worked out. One day he didn't skip any lines. Teacher cautioned him.
I am back from my stream and you are only halfway done with the vid?
What did you expect, Levi? It's so true. Welcome back, good sir. One day he didn't skip any lines. Teacher cautioned him and he said, go ahead and read it. The teacher did, and it was a full story. So he asked if the rest was garbage, and the student said, now read that. The teacher did, and it was a whole second story, and the teacher said, okay, very funny. Then the student said, now read it all. A third completely different story. That's fucking amazing, Sean. Oh my god, I love it. That is like the epitome of structure. I hope that kid went on to be, like, very successful at writing. Because that sounds fucking amazing. That sounds like Quentin Tarantino levels of depth and deception. We're just one tiny scene. Missing one tiny scene throws the entire narrative into a complete kerfuffle. But anyways. Since you're new to the channel, Rick, I will show you my greatest creation. Teacher came in on the third day, dropped the story on the desk, and then went down to his knees and bowed, saying he wasn't worthy. Oh my god, that's great. So...
It's a good start, isn't it?
That's just probably too loud. Okay. Maybe this is... This is my greatest creation. This is what I call creating sliced bread. But yeah, I wanted to do, like, my original YouTube channel, I started and I just wanted to do AMVs. So I made that AMV and, like, 5 other AMVs, and that one got 16,000 views in the first week. And then it got blocked. And I was like, oh, that's why there's no good AMVs on YouTube. Because either the anime gets copyright struck, or the song gets copyright struck. So I was like, well, that fucking sucks. Cause, like, I'm pretty sure I could make so many fucking amazing AMVs, but they'd all get fucking copyright struck. So, yeah, it was really, really unfortunate. Cause I was like, dude, we're popping the fuck off, yes! And then it was like, oh, what happened? Oh, fuck YouTube. Okay. So yeah, if you ever wonder why you can't find good AMVs, it's because probably they're all fucking copyright struck. Super annoying. I wish that wasn't the case, but it is what it is. So then I did things like social commentary kind of stuff that was like, I called it It Talks Taco Time, and it was like me talking to myself, and it was like split camera, so like I had a script, right, and I'd like read the one side, and then I'd do the other one, and then edit it together of me talking to myself about like and like playing devil's advocate for like social issues and stuff like that. Need written permission for both the music and the anime. Before I take my leave, I'll give you a bit of info on the Bloodstone Kingdom's past if you like. Yeah, sure, go ahead, Rick. Sounds like a good time. And thanks for stopping in and hanging out and giving us some things to think on and an idea that will rest in our heads until you come back and give us the rest of it. I really dislike the summoned hero trope. It was a great a few times, but when you think about it, it makes no sense. Option 1. You get a standard person with no backbone that will be useless despite any powers given from the migration. Option 2. You get the believer who won't take instruction because they are the hero. Option 3, and most likely, you get the patriot who would see the summoners as a criminal threat to their nation and instantly fight them. I mean, that's a fair assumption there, Sean. My thing is always the fact that the people who are summoning think they know what they're doing, but they actually don't. So they think they're, like, calling upon their ancestors to, like, bring one of their, like, people, like, reincarnate them, basically. But it's actually, like, they're just pulling random people from random, civilizations. I think that would be, like, a really funny kind of trope to go with. where it's like you're literally trying to be as humorous as possible and make it as ridiculous as possible, I think that would actually like be a new way to work with that trope. Is literally to make it like almost a comedy of how ridiculous it is. And just show everything wrong with the world itself from the person who got summoned there, essentially, in order to be... Oh, fuck, what did I do? God damn it. Is that going to reset it? What was the last one? World... Wait. Fuck! Hold on, I got this. This is the real story time, guys. This is the real fucking story time. This is gonna be insane, guys. This is gonna be fucking insane. I don't know how much more there is, but holy shit, bro. This is insane. Okay, that's the end of it. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Okay, are you guys ready? Whew. Okay, here we go.
The current King Valdric Bloodstone was the eldest of the Bloodstone family, who absolutely adored and loved his mother and brother, whom he swore to protect from anyone. His brother is the youngest of this brotherly duo pair. Also, Valdric has a friend whom is Morgana Blackthorn's father's son, named Ezrin, but the father of Valdric was a different story. Oh, also the Bloodstone Kingdom is like the big bad of all of the clans and stuff, but they see the world differently. Mainly the king and queen do. They are a mix between a loving and caring, but with a twist. They just want their children to live peaceful lives, and so that is possibly why they act like tyrants. One reason is to not be seen as a weak nation compared to others, but to be seen as one who is authoritative and disciplined, also because of darker powers that someone named Morgana Blackthorn is using and helping them to get what she wants. However, she has a soft spot for the Bloodstone brothers. She is their advisor and sometimes a teacher at the Bloodstone Academy, but secretly is a part of a secret society, meeting at a kingdom known for anarchy and somewhat secretive dealings and trades, where she gets some of her valuables for her plan to one day find her long-lost love. Herself being the leader of the Crimson Veil, and having to be at a school are well gonna sort of be interconnected, because in the Bloodstone Academy there is a secretive group of students that her most trusted followers, 3 of whom are actual teachers at the school, and are also a part of the Crimson Veil, and her right hand, her buddy and friend that she can tell anything, her right hand, or should I say her hands, are twins, a part of the Crimson Veil, and her childhood friends. From an early age they had a sort of connection, but they had sort of different circumstances. See, the Cato twins were separated from their father and mother because of their parents' greed for money. They were a part of their lives for only a few years, living peacefully in the town of Frostvale, until they both turned 10 and fled the attack and pillage of their peaceful village. Their names are Amy Cato and Aki Haga. Amy is the right hand of Morgana Blackthorn's elite assassins in the Crimson Veil, utilizing a combination of stealth, speed, and deadly martial arts techniques to eliminate targets with ruthless efficiency. Aki Haga is the second hand of Morgana. Aki is a versatile assassin skilled in the art of
Wait, did I copy the wrong one?
infiltration and espionage. She employs a variety of covert weapons and nimble acrobatics to swiftly dispatch her targets and gather crucial intelligence for Morgana, now the Crimson Veil. Also here is a backstory of the current Bloodstone.
Yeah, I think that's about as far as we're gonna be able to get, bro. If I had known you were writing a book, I would have told you to post it in the Discord. Cause that's quite a bit. That's something, like, if you're gonna do, like, I'd have to, like, actually write this down. And, like, this is something that's, like, actually worth writing down and reading, right? Yeah, so, like, you wanna take your lore and dump it in the Discord and the public stories. It's not a problem, Rick. It's just the fact that, like, if I had known it was that much, I wouldn't be doing this. I would have just read it. I was just trying to be super cheeky and funny with doing the TTS. That's my bad. But I will, if you want to take that and post it all in there, then I'll actually read it. It's not reading it that's the problem. I was just, because I thought it was, like, short-ish. So I was just gonna, like, fuck around with the TTS, but, like, that's a story, like, this is, like, background and, like, lore and stuff. I would love to just, like, read straight off the page. Because I love world building and background shit. And you always gotta remember that in this stream, whatever the current topic of the stream is always in the background to whatever new phenomenon can exist. Like, this is how I think about streaming on a, like, base level. I've got, like, you know, the reacts, the reading, the writing, and then the game. I've got 4 components to my stream that I generally do, right? As a general setup. Following those guidelines, however, is not always, you know, because 90% of the time, all 4 of those things, no matter what I do, they're still gonna be there, right? So there's no point postponing, let's say, a conversation with chat, a story from a chatter that, you know, you might never see them again. This might be the only opportunity that I ever get to read your story, and I really, really want to read your story. So putting everything else on the back burner for something that you know may only have a small window, I think is a great way to have a structured stream that also facilitates, like, random shit to happen. And you don't have to feel like the stream is getting derailed as, like, the chatter if, like, whatever happens to be happening on the stream because of the chatter is no longer related to the original topic of the stream. Whereas I feel like a lot of people, especially chatters, feel like they don't want to talk because they don't want to derail the stream. Like, we should actually change one of the tags on the stream to, like, derailment. Stream derailing. And basically completely go right off script. Donald Trump speech style, right off the script, just spam a bunch of shit, right? And it's like, we can always go back to the reacts and continue on with that. That knowledge, that information, that process is never going to disappear. But taking the moment to pay attention to that chatter, to get their information, to get their perspective, to get them intrigued and invested into the stream, is literally my primary way of building my audience. Is making you guys want to come here so you can share your ideas. Because I know in the writing sphere, a lot of people either don't want to share their ideas because they're worried that people are going to steal them. Hashtag every story has ever been written, so can't happen. And facilitate a, like, don't promote yourself, don't talk about your stuff, only buy my stuff kind of mentality. And I find that, like, almost very toxic, where it's like, you can have that opinion, but it's like, that's going to alienate a lot of people, right? So, and I mean, to be fair, derailing the stream can also alienate people. But most of the people I would say that I would alienate by derailing the stream, it isn't going to cause them to leave the stream. And if it causes them to leave this stream, they'll most likely be back for another stream, right? So it's kind of like knowing what parts of your audience you can fuck with. Sorry, guys, I know you're my dedicated core fucking audience, and if you spoke up, I'd immediately go back to the video, just like when we were doing the Will Talks get through the video, and they were like, video, play the video, and I'm like, okay, we're playing the video, guys, it's whatever you guys want. But anyways, let's actually go back to the notes, go back to the video, and find out what these, because we're the things are fine stage. I want to know 10 common strategies that I might be able to use to facilitate as examples for as an example of learning this new information, right?
Lightly, they have their dues as well. While they're not exactly huddled in secret societies going, "Greetings and welcome to the annual meeting of the rich, powerful, and shady. We are here to discuss how..."
Well, that's kind of like the feeling of, like, the inauguration, right? It gives you this grand structure of, like, the idea that the entire public is entranced with the operations of the inauguration and everything that's going on. But in reality, it's only a very select few. It's just this few within this group is considered all that matters for society. Right? Like, each person will trickle down the knowledge to their lower, like, subordinates, essentially, on, like, a bureaucratic structure level. So you only need the top honchos with the main information, and then they can just, like, alleviate that to the rest of the people, right? So they consider this, like, everyone, even though it's not. And Husai finds that, like, not disrespectful, distasteful. He's always found that, like he's always had in his mind this, like, at odds with the monarch. And that's kind of like a clashing of, like, personalities with Gaia and Anima for, like, foreshadowing for their ultimate conflict.
How this year we shall preserve our wealth, power, and status in society.
Viceroy, if you mention Beastmen again, we might just have to have your head, good sir. So please, we know your inauguration is tomorrow. Could you just please not mention Beastmen? We know your wife ran off of Beastmen, but that wasn't the reason she was elected. You have to remember that. And the Viceroy's like, "Ah, don't worry about it, bro. We're gonna release the Lamia on everyone. It's gonna be a fucking good time." It's literally a fucking joke.
See, any suggestions? What about beating them with a stick? That worked last time. Yes, that's a good suggestion. Write that down. Beating them with sticks. Herondine, where are the cucumber sandwiches? Or at least that's what this letter from Dr. Illuminati told me to say. Point being, though those with power, wealth, and status may not be conscious about it, they will, on average, act in ways that reinforce the system because it keeps them on the top.
Yep.
It's not really moral, but it's pretty natural to do that.
Yep.
Slave owners in Rome tightened restrictions on freeing slaves the more they became economically dependent on them for their way of life. Marriage across caste lines in India was outlawed by the highest caste after it saw the decline of the system's influence in daily society, weakening their position. It took a nearly 250-year struggle in the conflict of the orders from 500 to 287 BC for the lower class plebeians to finally gain similar rights to the upper class patricians in the Roman Republic, who fought it every step of the way. It might be easy to say that the warrior or the priestly class holds more wealth, power, and status because their skills are more specialized and valued by society.
The intelligence
Those
of
are
science.
also the classes that made it so that you couldn't become a knight or attend university without being a noble already. Yeah. But let's get down to specifics. Here are 10 common strategies
here we go.
that you might use in your society to maintain the class system. 1. Legal barriers to entering the upper class.
Ooh, that's a good one. Legal barriers to entering the upper class. You know what this is? These are exams. And these are the same things, the same type of exam that you have to take if you have to... same type of exam to
Harunike is now
become...
following.
Oh!
Thank you for following Harunike. I hope
Harunike!
you're enjoying the stream.
Thank
less
you
than
for the
4 less than
follow!
3
How's it
less than-
going? Welcome to
Hi,
the stream.
sweetie.
How are you
Patron was just
doing?
telling me you used to Arch Commander Consummate.
That
and
deserves
thinks
a
he'd be
toe.
Perfect match for us.
I'm not that interested. Are you smoking?
Who?
You.
Why?
What, why? Are you smoking?
Maybe.
What? When did you start smoking?
1989-ish?
So you have been lying. It all makes sense. The filled ashtrays, the burning pine-scented hairspray.
Yes, I'll say it. Her 3-pack-a-day voice?
Same type of exam to become an adventurer. And this is like a knowledge test, basically. It's like, do you understand enough about society to be able to present yourself in a way that allows you to exist in this form? So these exams are used to reinforce, excuse me, the standards. And the only reason for the law's existence is to reinforce the idea that this structure behaves this way, right? And that's like the idea that like public displays of affection are meant for peasants, right? So it's like you have to be like decent in public, like treating other people less than you in a, like, this is a like, I literally want this to be like a stipulation in the law. Treating people less than you is not what upper class do. What the upper class does is thinks that everyone else is below them. But they don't act like everyone else is below them. They just know that everyone else is below them. And this is like a stipulation literally written into the law. So that's one example, is exams that are basically written to maintain the structure as it is and to show that only these types of people. So they're basically like exams for gatekeeping. Heavy gatekeeping.
Class. 2. Difficult cultural barriers to cross, such
Difficult cultural barriers. This would be like job distinction, crafter versus like merchant versus like worker, right? And it's like this goes back to the exams too, because it's an understanding of the etiquette of that kind of so like understanding of etiquette related to that class. What else could be a cultural barrier? Oh, well, of course, like, that's the, like, would reputation fall under that? Go back to the merit system and the idea of like the general public's opinion of an individual person, And that's like a huge thing. If people don't want you, people don't like you. Idea. Maybe a voting system for class mobility. So it's like not only do you have to write an exam, but you also have to basically get approval from enough people that they'll vote you into being in that class. It's like you're a miner who works really hard, but you're tired of mining and you want to kind of go into like something different. So you kind of have to start off as like, oh, the higher ups in the area that I mine can give me a good recommendation to move to another category, right? And then there's the whole pushback of, oh, we don't want to lose someone who's this good. And then the guy just like literally, because there's no obligation, because everything in the workforce is completely like under the idea of standardized, unionized, where the government will subsidize workers for voting sounds cumbersome. Recommendation sounds more viable. Yeah. That's kind of what I meant by a voting system, is more recommendations. Yeah, like a sponsorship system, kind of like in the trades in real life. How, like, you know, certain people will recommend other people. And this also, again, bleeds into the concept of having a underling, like the squire to the knight, right? You have the apprentice and the master. There is and the society is very based on the idea of that, because there's no universal schooling. Everything is, if you want to do something, you find someone who does that and then learn from them. And then as you get better, you become the master and people learn from you. And then everything kind of just evolves naturally through that process, right? Just like it does in the real world. So I like the idea of recommendations and sponsorships that allow people to transfer, like, so like you would think of recommendations and sponsorships as the easy things that allow you to move through classes, and then like the understanding of the cultural barriers and the etiquette that comes with the class and the exam that you have to take in order to actually achieve it are like the hurdles, right? So like the recommendation and the sponsorship are the pavement you're running on, whereas the cultural barriers and the exam and etiquette and understanding is the hurdles that prevent you from getting to the finish line. That's how I think about it in my head when I put it into like a metaphor, a visual metaphor, right? So I think recommendation system / sponsorship system. So yeah, opportunities and obstacles. Exactly. And that's what gives it like the realism, right? Because every idea I have, I try to say, how does this work in the real world, and why does it work that way in the real world? And then I reverse engineer that into the book, so it has a viable, relatable reason for it to be in that position. So so it's like easier for people to understand subtext when it comes to politics if those politics are relative to their current life, right? So in the fact of like talking about like a race issue, an intelligence issue, a schooling issue, a commodity issue, an intellectual creativity issue, and by issue I mean either a lack thereof or an abundance of, to the point that it's like an impossible market to get into, or it's a completely empty market, and those would be the two extremes for that. So I think that's pretty decent.
such as language and manners, which
And language
those beneath
doesn't
them
matter,
would not
manners
have,
does.
like in The Great Gatsby. 3. Cronyism, like in Terry Pratchett's Making Money, where the bank manager...
A race issue, an abundance of race. Yeah. And it's even like, you even have subspecies, right? Because I want to create... There's 3 types of octopi, right? You have whitehorn, blacktail, or... Is it yellowbacks and blacktails? Or is it black... Yeah, it's yellowbacks and blacktails. Because I didn't want BB. Blackbacks. So... And then for the avians, they're just like different colors, right? Like there's white, there's gray, there's brown, and there's black. And then for the insectoids, it's the different colors of their shells and their exoskeleton, which is like red, orange, yellow, and like pink, I think. Like that kind of classification of colors, right? And like on the very lighter side, what you would find from like a lot of insects. So even within their own races, there's colorism within each race and racism between each race. That is, there is organic racism that is like based upon immutable physical features, right? Like making fun of like the main thing that avians and insectoids have in common is wings and their ability to fly. Although avians can like fully fly, and insectoids can only they could fly for like 20 minutes, like kind of a glide idea, right? But they can't like fly for like hours, which avians can, right? Damn, Sean, you're just winning, and you're a Kate Sith too. Holy fuck, dude! Gamble more. Let's go. Here we go, 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 here we go. Ah! Oh shit, guys! Oh shit! I wasn't supposed to get it! I wasn't supposed to get it! Fuck. Well, that's just not fair.
Fuck you.
No, my writing talent is going down. Fuck.
Managers only give jobs to their friends and family. 4.
Wait. Cronyism? Only giving jobs to friends, family, people you know and trust. Okay. Okay, yeah, that is definitely... That is definitely understandable. Today's episode of Oops was brought to you by Impulse Control. Never gamble without it.
Making less powerful individuals dependent on...
Making less... Okay, let's see here. So, hey, Talk! I found something out! What'd you find out, Callie? That you're an amazing streamer, and that you should have been streaming this entire time, and you've built an amazing audience? I'm super excited for you. Do people love your book because it's so fucking good? And, like, it's so out of place and random and original. I fucking absolutely love it. Like, I was thinking about that last night. I was like, I don't think I ever had a story that's so odd and interesting and out of place, but just fits. It's like, it's perfect. I fucking love it. But yeah, 3 hours in, and we're 15 minutes into a 25-minute video. This is looking dreary, guys. But it's okay, because at 19 minutes is when the campfire thing starts. So, we actually only have 4 more minutes, which is another hour. We're definitely intoxicating. Yup. Yup. You're gonna make me cry. Why, Callie? Because you know it's true and you believe in yourself too, and you're just so excited that you've finally broken off those shackles, walked out there into the sunshine, gotten out of the cave, and realized that, you know, there are other people out there like you, creative minds. Callie, you were awesome, just deal with it. Agreed, Sean. But I mean, you're the same way, Sean. The cat version is fucking insane. I can't wait. I'm so excited for cat version, but I'm also so excited to read the other book too, the Queendom of Stellaria. Super excited for that. Shalara. Okay. Yeah. And even, like, Spear coming in here, like, those couple of times with, like, his story and stuff. It's like, that's what I want, man. I want a congregation of ideas, stories, and just good times. Which is, like, facilitating a guild hall, like in Fairy Tale, is, like, I guess that's the best way I could say that I want, like, my stream to be. Is literally like the guild hall in Fairy Tale, where everyone's doing random different shit. Everyone's kind of, like, they have their own, like, rivalries and stuff, even though they're, like, best friends, and it's like, when there's an outside source, it's like they put all their rivalries aside, but it's like they've got nothing better to do, then it's all about the rivalries, and it keeps everyone going and everything like that. Continuous inspiration, telling people to, you know, you may be down on your luck with, like, writing and not be able to do a scene, but, you know, work on something else, and it'll find you. I found out I'm compelled to do exactly what I don't want myself to do, like spending money. When I feel the need to spend my money, I'm like, I shouldn't spend it, but because of that, I have to. Now, Callie, all you need is the self-awareness and restraint to know that that's the feeling that you're feeling, and to get used to that feeling, instead of caving into it. That's literally what I did. I took, like, the tap off of my fucking debit card, and I haven't had fast food in, like, a year and a half. And I swear to God, I've saved, like, $8,000. Because, like, I make my own, like, steaks. I frickin', you know, I basically turn cheap food into expensive food through spices. And, like, the work myself, because I'm a pretty good cook. So people say. But I fucking love food, so what do you expect? Sounds like some kind of executive dysfunction. Well, I'm kind of the same way, where I'm like, the more I believe in an idea, the harder it is for me to change.
I turn cheap food into expensive food by spending too much money on it.
Hey man, chives here, like, I can have like a month worth of chives for like 35 cents. Essentially. And I put that shit on everything. If you know, you know. But yeah, so I can buy like a shit, like, cheap, like, cut, you know, beef steak and turn it into an amazing, delicious, fucking gorgeous food. Even though it's like that steak that I made is like a $3.50 steak, I think, something like that. It's either $3.50 or $4, and that thing is fucking fat. I used to cook, but over time I lost interest. Like I started with Thai food. I cook so much. My friends got me like cooking books for like fries and like donuts and like burgers and paninis, pastas. Dill weed is amazing. It fools your tongue into thinking there's more salt than there actually is. Makes low salt food taste like you're trying to kill yourself. I believe that, Sean. Dill is a really good thing to use. Yeah. French fries. Where's your nationalism? Well, that's the basis, Levi. Then you add all the goodies. Like I said, you've got like the potato wedges, fries of different sizes. So you have the small, long fries, small, thin fries, potato wedges, thick cut fries, thick, long wedges. Then you have hollandaise sauce, eggs, shredded bacon, chives, peppers, gravy, fuck ton of cheese. What else did you put on there? The fries are crap, the poutine isn't good. He's got his priorities right. True, Sean. That's why I never get poutine from like a fast food place. Always go to a place that does gravy. Like a great thing is go to KFC, get gravy, get fries, go home, take a bunch of shredded cheese, cover the fries in shredded cheese, and then pour the gravy over top of it. And that would be the most authentic, like, fast food poutine you'd ever get. But I don't think anywhere else does it like KFC does it. So, if a fast food you wanted to try poutine, that would be my best suggestion. But don't get, like, KFC poutine, right? You gotta make it yourself with your own cheese. Because the fucking cheese curds are bullshit. Because you're just eating chunks of cheese. You might as well have, like crackers, salami, and pickles. And you're just eating the crackers. Right? So, making less powerful individuals dependent on them for money, status, or wealth. Plays. What else? The idea that physical possessions cause inner enlightenment. Imitation KFC gravy, grandma's seasoning gravy packets. 2 brown, 1 country, 1 chicken, 1 turkey. Make them all in the same pan. Can't tell the difference. Sean, that is amazing. I am spreading the word of that, and we have another one going on the chat creations. Because that is definitely worthy. 100%. Sold, good sir. What else? Protection. Lower class guards paid very well. I'm like a negatively food motivated, which sucks. Oh, that sucks. I fucking love food. Which is why I was willing to try this shit, even though, like, yeah, I'm not eating this. It was, it may have just been because it's chicken, and I fucking hate chicken soup. I don't know why. The broth was great, but yeah. Did you know that Frank's Red Hot is a buffalo dry rub that you can get so you don't have to get sauced chicken in order to have buffalo chicken? I did not know that, Sean. But I'm not a fan of spicy foods, except Indian food. Make me that butter chicken that's gonna burn my tongue off and, like, make me sweat a waterfall. Fuck yes, please. I can feel the sweat and the taste coming on from that. I'm a trier. I try stuff. I don't much like eating things I've eaten before, and I don't care that much to find new things to try. I'm huge explorer. Gluttony character is like my food addiction in the book. Like that's the food addict part of my personality. Like, I don't know why I only weigh 110 pounds. I fucking eat everything I see. Like, I fucking devour food. I don't exercise, I don't do anything, and I don't gain weight. It's fucking amazing. One day they say it'll come get me, and I'm looking at myself like, not yet, bitch.
Them for money,
I'm still fucking hot, huh? Motherfucker.
What
you try to say about
we'll
me?
Talk about this in a bit. 5. Meaningless concession.
Oh, here we go. Is it
Twink death comes for us all.
true?
Which placate the masses. 6.
Bread and circus. Degenerate sex addicts. Sap eating drug users. Violent individuals. Gladiator Coliseum. Because, you know, no MMO and no Final Fantasy game is okay and set without having some element of PvP in it. So, the violent individuals in the Gladiator Coliseum are going to be, like, basically like a PvP server kind of idea. And there'll be, like, different things where you can have, like, the 1v1 Coliseum style. Everyone who goes to this area is just free reign. You can just fucking kill people and shit. Well, you can't kill people. But you can maim people. Like, it's like you can be you'll be disqualified if you maim someone, but it's like, and like basically like a banned, because the idea is like, the idea of like puncture wounds and like non-removals. Like in some ways, like you cut someone's arm off, healer comes over, puts their arm back on. No problem, right? You just put it back in place, it just re-heals itself. That's the power of the tree. So it's like, unless someone fucking cuts your head off, you can't die. But, what would happen if, for instance, someone cut off your finger and ate it? Just to be a dick, right? Or like cut off your ear and ate it. It's just the idea that it's like it no longer, it's extreme, but it's like it's no longer exists, right? Like, you get your arm cut off, some guy does a fucking fire spell and your arm is ash on the ground. How do you replace your arm if it's ash on the ground? And there's no idea of, like, you can't just, like, regrow your limbs. It's just, whatever's there will just, like, repallet itself on, right? So, like, full destruction of bodily parts is basically against the rules in the PvP zone. But pretty much you can do anything else there. And it's just for people to go fucking crazy, essentially. There's no...
Violent
okay, well,
form.
there's... the not applicable, but extrapolated to the extremes of the fanatics, not the government, royals, or adventurers. Because the only ones who get that far, violence or force through violence, are the fanatics who don't want the Adventurers Guild to be a part of the tree, or Beastmen to have anything to do with it.
The obvious one. 7. Ostracism, casting people out if they...
This comes down again to reputation and merit. Do people have a general positive or negative view of you? You know, is this guy clearly a lazy piece of shit who always lies, who never does what he's told, he's always making excuses, nobody wants him around, he's always blaming other people, like that kind of shit. Those are the guys that they ostracize. But it could also go the other way, right, for higher end class. But most of it is like, a lot of the things that are presented are like just natural through the idea of people being good. It's like once you separate that like bottom 20%, the drug addicts, the sex addicts, the violent addicts, the only people that are left are like normal, reasonable people. So at least that's kind of like the idea I'm trying to present with this. Is like you take the riffraff out of society because they're the people that are not able to be civilized. They're the barbarians. They go do their own thing, and then you can do your thing. And that allows for this ostracism to almost have a positive view of it, because people can get ostracized together and create their own group, and then that's a functioning piece of society.
They dare step out of line. 8. Economic monopolies.
Oh, this is a big one, and this is like extends to the Adventurers Guild as well as the Beastmen, because of the Sahagins' connection and like location. This is where geography comes into play. Outside of the tree, when the first adventurers left the tree, the first beastmen they interacted with were the Sahagin, and they at first, like, you know, hunted them down as savages. But once the adventurers started dying and realizing what hunger was, there was like, basically like there's a play for a story of back in the day, like the first adventurer who was found by a Sahagin, nursed back to life, basically given the like taught how to survive, that the Sahagin aren't just like these crazy beast monsters, that they're actually a civilized society, and they exist within a functional framework that allows them to be productive and live. And since no one knows what hunger is, no one knows what fatigue is, no one knows what sleep... Like, you can sleep in the tree, but it's not like you need to, right? That's a big thing. It's like, people that are addicted to sleep, who just lie around and do fuck all day. It's like, yeah, that's your prerogative. Okay, sure. You know? It's looked down on, but it's not looked down on in a way that's like, important enough to sacrifice your time in the day to be able to go out of your way and make that person do what you want. It doesn't affect you that much. That's the general consensus. Just like kind of how it is in real life. Like, most issues are too far beyond a normal individual's like grasp and scope that there's almost no point logically on a grand scale of having like a governmental body that covers either a massive landmass or a massive population. Because the larger the landmass and the larger the population, the harder it is to get people into one group that all see one goal, right? And to a lot of people, it's the I like pancakes, and then the response is, oh, so you hate waffles. Where it's like, you make a statement about something, and then they take some random subtext that doesn't exist and add their own narrative to it. And for economic monopolies, for the Beastmen, having this construct part of their alliance with the tree and the Adventurers Guild itself, putting them way above the rest of the Beastmen in an economic way, because they're getting all of the immediate goods from the tree, and then it takes time for infrastructure to be built for the rest of the Beastmen to get to that level of civilization, essentially. So it's like a slow pronged progression press out of it. And this caused like an inner civil war between the Beastmen against the Sahagin of some kind, right? So that allows like economic and then the adventurers have basically monopolies inside of the tree because they have like crafting skills, like they have the raw materials. So they have the main means by which everything in the tree that's not made from the crystal is. And since like art is a huge thing, but it's like, yeah, you can make a crystal jar and have some cool art on it, or you could have like a Malboro stuffy. I don't fucking know. You know? Something like that. Where it's like something just like completely ridiculous and crazy that pushes everyone. And then it's like, for that as well, I was just thinking about this, is there has to be an entire branch of crafting that's dedicated to entertainment, i.e. plays, songs, dances, and stuff like that. So, like, clothing lines, like, outfits, stuff like that. And then, like, another thing I just thought of is, like, cosplaying in public for people is probably a pretty big thing, too, right? Like, cosplay as your favorite adventurer. I think that would be an interesting concept, too. So, Adventurers Guild and Sahagin plus Adventurers Guild in the tree with raw materials, crafters themselves. Okay, I think that works.
Controlling resources very carefully and their prices. 9. Artificial scarcity of resources.
Does this play a role? That's a good question. Can things be taken away? Oh, taxes. Taxes, tariffs, fuck, what's the other one? What's the other economic, what's the other economic tool? Artificial scarcity is one of those things that's always hard to prove. In this case, it would be a trade law, where it'd be like the amount of certain materials that were allowed into the tree would be like, duty, a duty, like a crossing like country lines with certain materials. Like you have to pay taxes, tariffs, duties on materials entering and leaving the tree. Limited number of I don't know. Just a limited number of max trade number of items, i.e. only 10 pelts per month? Something like that? Per time period? So it's like artificial rules and laws that limit what materials are allowed to enter the tree when, and then this leads to like the economic monopolies inside of the tree, where the people that are writing the laws that allow those certain materials to come in, or it's like people aren't bringing them in because the more that they have, the higher the tariffs and the duties go. So it's like by the time there's like 40 or 50 pelts inside of the tree, it's like you have to pay the tree to bring your material in. It's like even after calculating like all of the cost, you're still paying the tree, so it's not worth it, so people don't bring it in. So I think artificial scarcity is absolutely an important part of like materials inside of the tree, and like how people are manipulated by that, and like the function of certain materials that are considered high end simply because people in the tree believe that they're scarce, but it's actually the laws and the legislation for taxes and trade only facilitate a certain number of them to be within the boundaries. And all of this is like you know, behind so much red tape the ordinary person would never be able to understand. So unless you were an adventurer and you dealt with it straight up and spreading word of it, would you be able to spread? Yeah, and then people would just say, so who cares? Be like, well, I got all these pelts outside the tree, so if you want to come outside the tree, and they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter, because, for instance, if you did something like that, like, if you were to think, okay, well, they can't bring the material into the tree, so what if they made the product? Well, the product is made out of the material can't come into the tree. So even if the crafter left the tree to go to... Actually, that's another way to facilitate, like, crafters leaving the tree, is if you're crafting a certain material, and that material is, let's say, on this week's agenda of, okay, we're gonna scarcity that one, then you might move out of the tree into Ifrit and be able to work more cleanly with that operation. So this is a double-edged sword that allows people, also allows or facilitates new crafters to leave the tree through creating a scarcity of their trade material, forcing them to make new shops outside. So I think that's like because whenever you have like one moving piece to the economy, you have to see what else moves because that moves, and then because that moves, and you're just gotta align all the gears. So it's like, at first, does artificial scarcity matter? Fuck yes, it goddamn matters.
Especially those that those beneath them really rely on. And 10, propaganda.
Yes! I'm so glad he added this one.
Lots of books use one or more of these more clearly in showing how power is maintained. Philip K. Dick's Do Android Dream of Black Sheep shows the Rosen Association having a massive monopoly on androids. Overwhelming and shady corporate power is a huge part of the feel and atmosphere of the world.
I mean, what?
Consider what thematic feel you want your society to have, and which of these few methods are the most prevalent in the powerful maintaining power in your world to achieve that. But I want to talk briefly about point number 3, making less powerful individuals dependent on them for money, status, or wealth.
AFK back in a bit.
Wait,
Sean, we're almost done! What do you mean you're back in a bit?
But let's talk about the Irish during the American Civil War. Gleason in The Green of the Grey writes about how the Irish did not have the status of being truly white in the USA. They were considered something else, something much lesser. But they were often persuaded to help oppress black Americans in order to secure their status as white.
Still don't.
Becoming white meant less discrimination for their Irishness. The Confederacy offered status and thus wealth and power if they were to help the white cause, and 40,000 Irishmen did. Giving people status or wealth or power is an incredibly powerful tool when thinking about how your class system is structured and maintained.
Yeah.
Think about which disadvantaged groups are being incentivized to act in a certain way
That's
by
the word,
giving them the status, wealth,
incentivized.
or power that they really crave and need. It's really about what the incentives and barriers are in your society, but these are further complicated by magic and technology, two kind of nebulous forces. Because of these things, not everyone will necessarily face the same barriers or have the same incentives due to drastically different capabilities.
Yeah.
Superman doesn't really need to worry about earning money
It's
like
all
a
about
person
economics,
food.
baby.
He gets it from the sun, lucky plant. We talked before in the last video about how this impacts social mobility, that is moving between up or down through classes. But it does mean that the rich and powerful need to have an answer to why magic and technology don't break the system when a significant group of people do not need to be dependent on them for power, or can violently oppose force, or they don't need to rely on resources that the rich and powerful control. In world building your sci-fi or fantasy world, how do the rich and powerful incentivize this unique group to act in the way they want, or what extra barriers do they create specifically for them? Fullmetal Alchemist gets around this by highly privileging those alchemists who serve the state, like Edward and Roy Mustang, with money, status, and power. All of this is why the trend is the higher the class, the fewer the people. It's very easy to go down, but difficult to go up.
True.
This is what makes answering that question, what does your society value, so difficult. Because status...
It culturally values ideas. Science, understanding, and ideas. Because all three of those are the main components to magic, and magic is a fundamental foundation of society. So, actually, your, like, potency and capability with magic is probably the most distinct feature of, like, presenting feature of intelligence. If you can't wrap your head around, like, imaging and having the idea of controlling individual pieces of parts of things, and not as a whole, or like not being able to create a hypothetical situation towards something, right? Like, what if I did this, what would happen? Because then every time you cast magic, you'd have to actually cast the magic to see what it would do, because you wouldn't have the concept of creating in your head a scenario that allowed you to take the knowledge you have of the real world, apply it to a scenario, and synthesize it in your head and play it through and say, what would happen if this happens? And then, you know, have at least a basic understanding of that. So, culturally, people would value your ability to use magic, I think. So magic actually comes back into play in a very interesting way. That it's not the magic itself, but it's the intelligence behind the use of magic. Because magic can be used in so many different ways.
Is often defined by those who already have status, even if they don't realize it. It's why lower-class Asiatic people learn English. It's the language of the wealthy class worldwide. British people even learned French after the Battle of Hastings in 1066, because it brought in a French upper class. Gaining power meant learning French. The lower classes play to the whims of the upper class.
Language isn't an issue for us, though, which is really nice. We just eliminated that. There's so many things in the book that we've just straight up eliminated and said, yeah, this doesn't fucking exist. Get rid of it. Done.
Need to. And that's it, my people. I have solved the economy. I, in my infinite wisdom, have summarized everything there is to say about class, wealth, and power in 2 20-minute videos.
That's a lie.
Bow down before my incredible intellect. Just kidding. Turns out, in a shocking twist of events, I underestimated how complicated a topic could be, which means that I've got a third part coming out in a little while about how class systems change and fall.
We'll be watching
And
that one
with it,
tomorrow.
the final Marxist revolution! Once again, cheers to Campfire for sponsoring this world building video. I've done a whole review of this product a couple of times before, and that video is linked in the corner now, because Campfire is a program designed for writing and world building, which is what you guys are interested in. And because of that, I want to be a bit more careful when recommending it. But to start, I wholly recommend Campfire and the World Building Pack, especially if you are into world building languages, magic systems, or fictional species. If that is you, or you just want to give it a try totally for free, then go to this link in the description and you'll get 10 days to try it out however you like. But I'm going to go through my main positives and criticisms as well here to give you the gist. The World Building Pack gives you pages for species, cultures, religions, philosophies, magic systems,
don't really care
and
about
items,
writing and world
but it's
building.
clearly the magic system.
Wait, what, Levi? You're trolling, right? I'm like, do you really care that much about politics and economics and, like, the actual structure of, like, reality over, like, imaginings of alternate realities? No, there's no way that's true. You're one of us, Levi. I actually really do care about economics and politics more. Well, it's understandable because it's something that you like, right? It's like, for me, I'd say, like, history is probably the most important thing for me. 'Cause history teaches you everything you need to know about reality. And reality informs you about things that you could imagine are not reality. Because without reality, you wouldn't, like, what would be the, like, there would be a contrast to fascinating ideas and worlds that are way far beyond ours, or, like, in technology or just in concept, right? Like, the basic idea is that most worlds are our world with some sort of catalyst. And since that catalyst had been there since the beginning of existence or whatever, it is a fundamental part of the world. And that's why the world is completely different than the world we're in. But if you can, at the end of a story, imagine that some way, shape, or form that world existed in our timeline on some level, to me, you've done your job, because that's all I want. Because then I can think about it more. And, you know, thrive in that entirety of that world. But, Sean, are you here? Because if you are not here, then we're just going to start writing Cryogen, because we have some grand ideas for what's going on here. No, that's not what I want.